I think just as a general principle, what I found so helpful was a therapist who came alongside me, acknowledged and started to kind of gently point out the strategies that I was using to manage emotion, such as by thinking but not feeling. And I think what I appreciated more than anything was her total lack of judgment on that. So her real understanding that I needed to do that. I needed to intellectualize, not on everything, but on certain things. I needed to be able to say, I'm going to tackle this with my mind. I'm not getting the rest of me involved. And so she was curious about that, but curious in a very affirming way, sort of like, well done for doing that. That is brilliant, the way that you manage your emotion by intellectualizing it. Whereas if she'd come in with a sort of like, oh, I see that you intellectualize stuff and that you hide away from emotion. How are we going to change this? I think I would have intellectualized even more and probably written her an essay. I think there's a principle that I just saw again and again and again of just rolling with whatever it is that we do to keep ourselves safe and just being curious and affirmative of it. I think we're afraid to be affirmative of people's coping strategies because we think that if we do that, then they'll do it even more and we're trying to get them to not. But that's where I kind of pull up the issue of whose agenda are you working to here? And so I'd still be in the same place if she'd just been curious and affirmative and that was that. But that was her starting point on it. And her being curious got me to be curious about it. Because I think you become aware fairly soon in therapy at many levels of the things that you do. You may go into therapy aware of some of the things that you do to cope with stuff. And you don't feel good about yourself for these coping strategies. You tend to, well, certainly I did, I tended to blame myself and feel very ashamed of, oh, there I go again, I'm just intellectualizing again, or there I go again, I'm avoiding again, or there I go again, I'm getting argumentative again, or whatever it is that I do. And I had to change that narrative within myself of like, oh, yeah, I'm feeling unsafe, and that's why I'm protecting myself by intellectualizing or avoiding or shutting down. So that I then was able to be very compassionate towards myself in it and able then to be curious about, well, what is it that's making me feel unsafe in this? And that led to a whole series of conversations that we could have, of hypothetical conversations, so very intellectual based, along the lines of, so if you didn't feel so unsafe at the moment, what would you want to say about this? If you didn't feel so unsafe and felt that you had to intellectualize, how would you be feeling? And so I was able to kind of edge up to it, talk about it theoretically and intellectually, but in a way that got me curious and interested and started to normalize it and started to let me think about it more. So very much a rolling with the defense and seeing it as, this is what's kept you sane. This is what's kept you able to cope. So there's nothing wrong with doing it. There's nothing wrong with intellectualizing. It's just, is this the most helpful strategy for the rest of your life? So if you want to have a very fulfilled emotional life, rich relational life, is that helping you achieve those goals? Whereas if right now it's helping you get through this really difficult week, and if it's, this session, it's too much to go there on this content, then that's fine. Well done for knowing what you need and for staying with it. So kind of rolling with it and being very positive about it instead.